Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews. If you enjoy this review, make sure to hit that like and the subscribe button, and if you have any opinions at all you would like to share, leave them down in the comment section. HAIM, Women in Music, Part 3. HAIM, pop rock, soft rock trio of sisters Alana, Danielle, and Esty. The band has been around since 2012, 8 years together, releasing 3 studio albums in that time frame, most of which has been really favorable among critics. I personally haven't been able to fully get into them yet, but I'm hoping that this album I'm reviewing here will change that. And this isn't my first introduction to the band either. I reviewed their sophomore album Something to Tell You back in 2017. Which reminds me, I may have to do a Redux review of that on some point. Maybe some of my earlier reviews too. Stay tuned for that. This album was met with widespread critical acclaim, mentioning the album's ability and confidence to explore new genres and shift things up a little bit. Also, I will be reviewing the 3 extra bonus tracks as per usual. They were all singles, so they'll be out of the way first. So just how did this album stand for me? Let's find out as I review this album track by track. We'll start off with the singles, with there actually being 6 singles. The first one being the closer, Summer Girl, which immediately doesn't put a smile on my face. Oh, it's such a drag of a track to get through, and just so tedious. This instrumental is lifeless, with the percussion being the star of the show, and it packs so little weight it feels like a gust of air gone by. Not to mention Danielle doesn't really sing this track with any passion. She sounds so bored with it, and frankly I would be too, trying to sing over a garage band loop. Although lyrically the message is sweet about the uncertainty following Danielle's partner's cancer diagnosis. But the track as a whole kinda sucks. I'll skip this one easy. The second single, Now I'm In It, is 10,000 times the better single. I adore this track. The main thing that gripped me right away is this drum work. It's finally bouncy and alive again, and when combined with the synth and pulsating guitar, it feels like some sort of nostalgic radio hit I would have heard in the 8th grade, and I really adore that feeling. It brings me back to my childhood. Another thing I adore is the vocal melodies, just all of it. All the progressions on the verses, the choruses, even that pre-chorus is infectious and groovy. Lyrically, it's actually about being in a really dark state of mind, having this bizarre existential crisis with looking at your reflection in a mirror. It's engaging, it's groovy, yet also very depressing at the same time. Great track. The third single, Hallelujah, is a purely acoustic track, and in all honesty, this one kind of falls in that line between the 2 previous singles. In the end, it's more so towards me liking the song. For one, I adore the vocals here. It's not sleepy and boring like on Summer Girl, they're actually very somber and powerful. This would have been fantastic as the full album closer, but still gotta sit through Summer Girl. So it does just kind of feel a little bit strange here in the track list, almost feeling like it was just slapped in a random order, which kinda sucks. Lyrically, it's about love and loss, mainly about Alana losing one of her best friends in a car accident. This song does portray that heartbreaking feeling very well. Beautiful song. The 4th single, The Steps, the first single for the core album, and god, this might just be one of the best tracks I've heard from them to date. These drums pack a good amount of weight to them, and the shrieking cry of this guitar gives the track a wonderful retro feel. The vocals are beautifully sung, very modernly poppy, creating this stylistic amalgamation on the tune that is oh so beautiful. Plus an earworm-worthy chorus and beautiful falsettos by Danielle, and an overall sunny, bright feel with these bitter lyrics about repairing this relationship, and you've got a track I can't skip even if I tried to. I urge you to listen to this song as soon as possible. It's fantastic. The 5th single, I Know Alone, is yet another fantastic single. This instrumental is pretty minimal at its core, but it's phenomenal at being effective with some catchy drums, pretty muted bass that feels like the spotlight is on it, with the melody really orbiting around it. And this perfectly complements the various vocal tones of the song. The chorus is very infectious and memorable, but the verses feel with style that sounds like it's almost out of sync, but it actually isn't, but it kind of sounds like a drunk ramble, which does really match these lyrics about hitting rock bottom mentally, being alone, falling in deeper than anybody else could. Yet another fantastic song, absolutely worth a listen. And the 6th and final single, Don't Wanna, sounds like a HAIM track through and through. It could have honestly fit on either of their 2 previous albums. It's another irresistible pop rock cut, feeling like such a vibe with that buttery smooth guitar lick and these drums blending in very well. It revels in its simplicity, and it's very effective at doing that. The vocals as well have a wonderfully pleasant, summery feel to them, turning the track into one of the biggest vibes I've heard in a while. Lyrically, it's actually about the struggling relationship, not wanting to give up on their partner despite having all these affairs. Another great song, and almost a perfect singles run. Let's see how the rest of the album compares. Now for the rest of the tracks. The opener, Los Angeles, has a jazz-inspired opening section with this well-played saxophone gracing the track as a whole. It definitely doesn't feel like much of an eccentric opener like I was kind of expecting. However, it is a poignant one regardless, especially with those vocals, which feel very heartfelt and almost a little bit vulnerable as well when paired with the slower, more mellow instrumental, with its rather light percussion and somber synth melody that's more so in the background. Lyrically, it's about being homesick, missing the town they grew up in, with that being Los Angeles. Nice opener, great song. Up From a Dream features this very gritty, rough bass riff, but strangely enough, it clashes with nearly every other part of the instrumental. The vocals are nowhere near that level of grit, almost feeling ethereal, which is really well paired with that synth melody. There is a shrill, heavy guitar riff near the middle of the track that practically transforms the song for the time being. It's definitely unexpected, yet also welcome. I'm also not the biggest fan of the falling asleep and alarm skits at the front and back respectively. Not like it's a concept either, it's just there because the title kind of suits it. Lyrically, it's just about reminiscing about all these dreams and how you want to go back to them because they're so positive. Not a bad song either, I like it. Gasoline has a bizarre sort of funky element to it. It's definitely abnormal feeling like it should be a ballad with how shimmery these vocals are. However, the track completely changes dynamics with that drum work. It's the stylistic battle that I'm not sure how I feel about it. It certainly does have a vibe, don't get me wrong, but that chorus kind of feels a little bit underbaked, throwing off the mood of the track for me. Lyrically, it seems to be about drugs and sex, talking about coughing up like you've never smoked a pack, wanting to get off as well, sort of having that little mix. This one's a dice roll. I could take it or leave it depending on how I'm feeling. 3 AM opens up with this little skit introducing this instrumental that is probably one of the best on this entire album. It's got a sparkly R&B tinge to it with this deep, thick bass line and the admittedly quiet and the fluctuating percussion. But this damn chorus immediately sold me on the tune. It's got such a solid melody. If someone can genuinely resist it, I'll be surprised. Lyrically, it's actually really simple, just about late night booty calls and getting sick of them, thinking if she's lost her mind. This track is an absolute banger, might just be my favorite on the album. Another try is this breezy, calming, summer-inspired vibe, and I'm very picky of my summery tracks, but yeah, this song is pretty damn solid. In fact, it's quite good. It feels very warm, like a sunny July day at the beach, with these near-whisper vocals and whimsical synth work along with some beautiful trumpet playing near the end of the tune. It's also bright and happy. I don't mind listening to it every now and then, but hearing it over and over for this album kind of drained me of it a little bit. Lyrically, unsurprisingly, it is pretty hopeful and optimistic, wanting to give love another try after it previously failed. Good song. Leaning on You has a strong acoustic country sound, and in all honesty, this one does absolutely nothing for me. It's this twangy plucking combined with these rather sheen vocals. It doesn't add any flavor, it's all pretty dry, and just like dry food, going through it feels like a chore. Even though it does kind of build up over the duration of the song, it just feels like layering another synth over and over. There's not even a drum loop here to add any groove whatsoever. Lyrically, it's about finding someone that accepts you for who you are, even with all the flaws that you contain. Good message. The track is kind of boring though, probably my least favorite here. Pass. I've Been Down is another track that doesn't really entrance me like I'm sure it was meant to. It's yet another scant instrumental, nearly all drum work and guitar riff. The bass is so silent it might as well not exist, and no perky synth either to help awaken this drag of a song. Also, that chorus feels so lazy, despite the vocals being pretty alright, and the verses have no real structure. It basically just feels like a monologue that was written in less than an hour. Lyrically, it seems to be a socially conscious message about isolation, getting down from the monotony. Meh, this one's another track I can skip on. Man from the Magazine definitely has a lot more of an interlude feeling to it, especially with its length being just a little above 2 minutes, the shortest track on the album. The instrumental also contributes to that belief, just being a surprisingly chunky guitar melody, but that's probably due to the synth work blending with it pretty well. The vocals are very well sung though, really conjoining with this beat in a soothing way. Lyrically, it's actually a women power anthem about how you shouldn't judge a female musician based on the faces she makes on stage and just expecting her to deal with it. It's not a bad song at all, I quite like it. All That Ever Mattered is absolutely one of the most experimental tunes on this album. It really blurs the lines between all these different genres, indie, pop, rock, a little bit of R&B with how sultry the percussion is. Also some nice electronic synth work. It turns into this goldmine of a tune. Not to mention that guitar solo that just kicks in near the end of the track, and these vocals just ooze confidence out of every line. It's such a fun track to listen to. Lyrically, it's about a broken relationship, and how she wonders what this person does now that she's out of her life. Do they wonder how to get her back? How does it feel to be alone? But back then, all that ever mattered was them. Wonderful song, a highlight here for sure. And finally, FUBT, which stands for Fucked Up But True, is a nice core album closer. It's a guitar-heavy ballad with that guitar being really loud but not overbearing, spicing it up a little bit from the repetition. The vocals are yet again really good. They carry some motivational, emotional weight, as the lyrics are all about being messed up, how she loves this person but she keeps doing it anyway despite the relationship being pretty abusive and awful. Regardless, I think it's a great track. Overall, I can surely say that I prefer this HAIM album to their previous. Much more memorable in the grander scheme of the band's discography, great hooks, pretty solid instrumentals overall, and while there were a couple of snoozers near the latter half of the album, I still enjoyed a good majority of the cuts here, and it's definitely in my recommendations. I'm feeling a 7 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.